Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear Professor Dr. Luqman, welcome back to our platform. I think we are going to start very soon, but we didn't receive the slides from the administration yet. لا أدري أستاذ أسماء أو الأخ يحيى سيرسلون إلي السلايدز يعني العرض المعدل. أو ننطلق إن شاء الله بإذن الله. Prof, are you here with us? Professor Dr. Luqman. Oh, Prof, I think he has problem in the computer. He cannot hear me. Okay. Let us fix and we are going to start in a while. Assalamu alaikum, Prof. Can you hear me now? Prof. Dr. Luqman.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Can you hear?
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me?
But I think your voice is not clear, Prof. I'm not sure is the problem.
It's cracking. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah.
Can you speak, please? Yes, Prof. Can you speak? Oh, I think there is a problem, internet problem. It's not clear. Your voice is not clear. Prof, you just sign out and then sign in. Yeah.
Can I? Hello.
Hello. Prof, can you speak? Can you hear me clearly? I cannot hear you clearly. دي أين المشكلة؟ we apologize. Inshallah, in a while, we are going to start the session. Let Prof. Luqman fix the problem, inshallah. I think you can hear me, right? Can you hear my voice clearly? Can you comment, please, in the chat box? Yes, okay. That means my side is okay. So the problem is from Professor Luqman's side. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, inshallah. Okay. Let me begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my dear brothers and sisters, this is our pleasure to welcome you to of the Islamic Economics Association, Nadil Iqtisad Islami, Bijamiat Kuwait. A part of our program, our activities, workshops, lecture series. This is one of the most important lecture series of Nadil Iqtisad Islami. And we are very much happy to promote this Sharia compliant finance models, modules, strategies, policies related to Islamic banking and finance. So we are trying to cover all the topics, all the aspects of Islamic banking and finance, including the contemporary issues of Islamic banking and finance. So today's lecture on underlying principles and pretexts of popular Islamic finance products will be conducted by Professor Dr. Professor Luqman Zakariyah is a professor of Islamic jurisprudence at the Department of Islam. He was formerly head of the Department of Religious Studies, Federal University of Kashmir, former head of the Department of Fiqh and Usul al-Fiqh, International Islamic University, Malaysia, and a fellow of Islamic Law Study Program, Harvard Law School. And Prof. Luqman Zakariyah holds LLB in Sharia from Medina, master's degree in Islamic Studies from Lagos State University, and PhD in Islamic Legal Theory, University of Wales, Lampeter, United Kingdom. He is the founder and executive chief consultant of Albir Islamic Finance Consultancy and Training, UK and Nigeria. So this is an honor for us to welcome Professor Dr. Luqman Zakariyah to conduct today's lecture on underlying principles and pretexts of popular Islamic finance products. Please welcome, Prof.
Hello.
Yes, Prof. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear. Can you speak, please? You start and speak,
Okay.
and we can. Yeah.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. على رسول الله على آله وأصحابه سلم
Prof, your voice
So,
is not clear.
Doctor,
Prof,
can you hear?
your voice is not clear actually.
Can you now?
Yes, yes. Can you raise your voice, please? Yes, Prof. Hello. اللهم صل على محمد.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. MashaAllah. Now it's clear, Prof. Yes.
It's clear now, but what happened is that I'm using my laptop and at the same time using my phone.
Mobile phone. Yes, yes. Okay, never mind, Prof. We can begin now, inshallah. Thank you so much, Prof.
Okay, for that reason, sharing of the slide may not be proper, but I will try my best to share the slide, inshallah. Let us see the slide. Let me show the slide. Just a minute. I'm trying to do different ways of getting to the. Okay. Just 1 minute. We'll try to choose. Okay, can you see the screen now? Hello?
Yes, we can see the screen now. Yes, Prof.
Okay, Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa ashabi wa sallama tasliman kathira. The topic today is about the underlying principles and pretext of popular Islamic finance products. Once again, I thank the moderator, Dr. Mahidin, for inviting me to present this recurrent topic. It is very important for anyone who wants to engage in Islamic finance to know the principles and the pretext, so that whatever is doing will be in line with Sharia compliance. So I will introduce what I mean by principle and pretext. Then I will introduce the principles of mutual consent as one of the biggest principles in Islamic finance. Then the second one will be the principle of prohibition and avoidances, that is al-muharramat wal-manhiyat. So once someone knows these principles and pretexts, then he can work around any product he wants to sell or he wants to buy in Islamic finance. And the third principle will be the observation of maqasid al-sharia in all contracts and transactions in Islamic law, simply because the observation of maqasid al-sharia, that is mura'at al-maqasid wa mu'alat al-af'al fi al-ma'amalat al-maliyah, is because when these principles, the last one is not observed, the other principles may not work properly in disseminating the information about the product or be compliant with the principle of Islam in dealing in commercial law. So the three principles that I'm going to discuss today will be mutual consent first, then prohibition and avoidance, and objective of Sharia. But before then, what is the principles and pretext in Islamic finance? We all know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made everything for us in Islam to be permissible. And that is why they say, al-aslu fil ashya or al-aslu fil ma'amalat al-ibaha. The general principles in Islamic transactions or any other ma'amalat, it is based on permissibility. Meaning the implication is that you cannot haramize something without any certain text from the Quran or Hadith that prohibits it. Otherwise, you will fall into the text that you shouldn't, la tuharrimu ma ahallallahu laka. Don't prohibit something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made permissible to you. So a Muslim who wants to engage in any business must have that in his mind, that anything in Islam in terms of transaction is permissible until otherwise is proven. Now, the danger in this is that you will think that, yes, you can just continue doing things as usual without having in mind that there are other things that have been prohibited in Islam. That is why the second principle that I'm going to talk about today is very important, which is about muharramat wal manhiyat or makruhat. The third one is also very important so that it doesn't render all other activities null and void, or at least to render it
excuse me, Prof.
Yes. Hello. Hello. Can
Prof,
you hear me?
You didn't share the slides yet. Yes. You didn't share the slides. We can see your screen on.
Can you see it now? Is it moving? Hello?
No, Prof. I think you need to click.
Okay. Just a minute. Is done.
Yes. Prof.
As I said, I'm using two gadgets. I'm using my laptop. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Prof. We can hear you, but we only cannot see the slides.
Okay. But I'm showing the slide on another screen, which is showing here. Maybe you didn't see the other slide. Hello?
Yes, Prof.
I'm using two slides. Can you see the one on the screen now? The topic? No. Okay, let me share the slide again. Just 1 minute. Share documents. Okay, let me out from this. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Yes,
I
Prof.
want to use this second one. Oh my God. Or is it possible that you share it from there?
Yeah, I'm trying to download in my computer now.
Yeah, so that you can share it.
Yes. Because I just got it in the same computer. I'm joining. So never mind, inshallah. Let me fix.
Maybe it's better you share it from that so that.
Yes, Prof. Trying to fix. That's why. Just a minute. Yeah, I download it and then okay. Now.
Even from mine, you can even see it. Is it not showing?
Yeah, that one we can see now.
Can you see?
Yeah, we can see your slides without our logo, but let me.
Okay, okay, I know.
Let me start my one. I think you can see mine right now.
Let me see.
I think slides are visible now.
Yeah,
Everyone can see my
slide. It's coming up.
Yes, problem. Yeah.
Okay. Now, can I continue?
Yes, please. You can continue.
Okay, as I was saying that there will be three principles to be discussed. The first one will be the mutual consent in Islamic finance. And the second will be the principle of prohibitions and avoidances, which is al-muharramat wal-makruhat. Then the last one will be the observation of maqasid al-sharia. Next. The principle of mutual consent is very important. That is the basis for any transaction in Islam. Otherwise, you will not be compliant with the Sharia. Then the prohibition and avoidance is something we need to know so that we don't involve in something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited. Because sometimes ignorance of the law may not be an excuse. And the third one is the maqasid of the objective of Islam in transaction. So that once you comply with the legal requirements, then we also comply with the objective of the Sharia. Now, next. Next. What is the meaning of mutual consent? We'll be giving evidence and modes of financing and remark after that. Next. Yeah, when we talk about the mutual consent, that is the starting point of any interaction in Islam. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made every property of human being legally for them. And no one can take it from them without any legal permission. لا يجوز التصرف على ملك الغير بلا إذن. It is not permissible for someone to dispose any other's property or to take any other's property without the legal permission. That legal permission from Allah to us is a taradi, that is mutual consent, that the owner of the property allows you to take it, gives it to you, sell it to you, and so on and so forth. Without that, it is not proper for someone to take anyone's property without the permission. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la ta'kul amwalakum baynakum bil batil, illa an takuna tijaratan an taradin minkum. Oh, you who believe, don't eat your money among yourselves in a wrong way, except with the sales or trade which has a consent between mutual consent between you. So that is where all other all part of the sales that we have in Sharia are inclusive, be it sales of salam or istisna or even ma'awada. All those things are inclusive in it. Once it is based on taradi, so you agree on certain amount of money to be paid against a property, or you have what they call al-wa'd, that once you do this, I will give you particular amount of money, or deliver something for me tomorrow and get this amount of money, which is salam. All other aspects or models of contracts are inclusive in this particular ayah. However, as I will explain in the second principle, Allah says, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. The first segment is about the halal permissibility of any types of trade or sales. So from there, the Muslim scholar said, al-aslu fil ma'amalat al-ibaha or al-hil. The original principle of trade and sales is what? Is permissibility. So you cannot say that something is haram without having any evidence to haramize it. Or you cannot say that, no, don't involve in such sales without any cogent reason, whether be it in the Quran or in the hadith of the Prophet or istinbatul ulama or al-fuqaha, or from the deduction of the Muslim scholars, maybe through the analogical reasoning al-qiyas, or through the sadd al-dhari'ah, or any other types of the sources of law on which the Muslim scholar will base their judgment to prohibit or to permit something in Islamic finance. Now, next. So engagement in trade by mutual consent is an ancient norm where even before Islam, it has been there that people transact among themselves in the novel form. The Prophet ﷺ also encouraged all the Muslims to live with the amal yad, to do something, to earn money from your hard labor, to do transaction with people, but it must be on lawful basis. Otherwise, it will not be accepted in Islam. And that is why it has been said that the Prophet ﷺ was a trader before he became the Prophet, and all the companions, majority of them, were involved in business. They involved in business, they went to the market, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Abu Bakr Siddiq, and a host of others. They were all businessmen, and they live with halal. And whatever they think that it is not clear to them, they will come back to the Prophet to get the clarification on this particular aspect of their transaction. So transaction, trade, financing, business are lawful from Sharia point of view, except what the Quran or hadith of the Prophet prohibit or disapproved by a text, clear text from the Quran or hadith of the prophets. Next. So in business, we have different types of business, as I've mentioned, normal or spot sale. That is, I have a commodity and you want it, you have your money, I put the price there, you came and you buy it and you take your commodity, your good. That is a normal one. It is allowed once we agree on the certain amount of money, or the price I put there, you are happy with it, or we negotiate. Oh no, can you reduce it for me? I cannot pay such amount of money. And you reduce it without any imposition on you or duress. that is okay because there is a consent in it. Markup sale murabaha, it is also based on consent, on the mutual consent, where you want a commodity, you can't get to there, and I can get to there. I will say that I will give it to you as a amount of money. Then my profit on it is so amount of money or percentage. This is allowed in Islam. Different payments on it. Okay, I want to buy it now with 1,000, but if you don't have 1,000, you want to buy it and you pay me tomorrow or next tomorrow or two days, 3 days, 1 month, I won't sell it 1,000. I will sell it 1,200. This is allowed if both of us agreed on that particular mutual consent. So you cannot tell me after 2 days or 3 days that, no, I think you said it is 1,000 if I can pay money instantly. And that is what I'm going to pay today because that is the actual amount of money on it. I will say, no, we agree that if you can pay now, yes, I will sell it for you 1,000. But if you do not have cash, you will pay me tomorrow, next tomorrow, 1 week, 2 weeks, then this is the amount of money I'm going to pay it. So the Muslim scholar agree on that it is allowed based on your mutual consent. Once you take the commodity from the possession of the owner and you agree on extra amount of money, that extra amount of money, it is now riba. It is part of the price of the commodity. So you have to pay it at the due date. You cannot default or contend that it is not like that. Sale with advance payments also is part of the sales that must be based on mutual consent. What is it? Is that I pay you money today to deliver 10,000 tons of rice next year or 3 months' time. We agree. So you cannot come back after 1 month saying that, no, I will return your money back to you. I can't give you because the price of it is high today, so you have to pay extra money. No, we have agreed on certain amounts. You've taken the amount of money, you use it for your business. I'm at loss by that time, but I'm waiting for the time you will deliver. When I will gain, I will have profit on the commodity you are going to give me. So you cannot deny that this is what we agree upon. And that is why once you want to do such that contract must be written, must be documented, so that there will be no any disagreement or contention, as Quran chapter 2 has said that whenever you are dealing with the business, faktubuhu, you have to write it down so that there will be no any disagreement in the future. Sales for future delivery, or what they call istisna, is also part of it. And sales of currency as sarf. So all these sales and beyond that are based on mutual consent, and it is halal from Sharia point of view. Next. But we have some controversial sales. One of them is what they call Be'ul Ina. Be'ul Ina, as we know, being practiced in some very few Muslim country today, is what they call sell and buy back, and also it could lead to what they call at-tawarruq. Al-ina has been disapproved from Sharia point of view. That you cannot sell something and you buy it back with lower price. It means you are giving him money and you are gaining from that money you are giving him. So I will not expatiate on it because of time, because we have so many slides to go through. This is a controversial, but from Sharia point of view, it is haram. But the way they modify it today could lead to shubha, which a Muslims must refrain from it. And that is what they call, I can consider that as either prohibited or avoidance. That is makruhat, muharramat wa makruhat. They ordain, yes, definitely it is not allowed, but some countries are still working around that, circumvent the mode of doing it. But all these will be explained when we are talking about Maqasid Sharia, a principle of Maqasid Sharia in business. So Islam recognizes partnership contracts, which are mainly based on profit and loss sharing. Sometimes it is not sales, but it is a kind of partnership, be it musharaka or mudaraba. So you can give me money to do business with, and we agree on certain percentage of profit and loss. So once we agree, there should be no any reason for someone, one party, to disagree in the future. Once it is documented and it is written, all these also are based on what we call mutual consent. Musharakat mutanakisa, also part of it is a modern way of doing business, that is diminishing partnership, where we have joint venture and I'm buying part of your share to have sole authority or ownership of the property. It could be house, it could be land, it could be car, it could be a company. So we can do musharakat mutanaqisa once we have agreed on the ratio of the percentage of our profits and the percentage of our loss and the way of buying extra share so that I can have full control of the commodity. It is allowed from Sharia point of view. Next. Also, Islam recognizes lease, ijara, waqf, and the Baitul al-Mal. All these are part of the business of financing from Sharia point of view, which are allowed, and they are based on what they call the first segment is that anything that is bay or is a business, it is what? It is allowed. And under the principle of al-aslu fil mu'amalat, ijara is part of the mu'amalat. Waqaf in different ways of doing it today is also part of the mu'amalat, and bond, sukuk, and so on and so forth are also based on mu'amalat. So once we agree on what we are doing and there is no any disagreement ab initio, it is allowed from Sharia point of view that you can involve in something like that. Now, next. Now we have what they call, I gave these commercial contracts in order to know how vast the Islamic finance can go. It can be gratuitous contracts, gift, waqf, loan, ibra. I will not explain all this. We may have another session to discuss in detail each one of them. I will have trading contracts like lease and sell. So in that, we have operational one and we have financial lease. While we have in the sales, we have Be'u Bithaman al-Ajil, as I've explained, Murabaha, we have Salam, and we have Istisna. And in investments, we have Mudaraba and Musharaka. While the supporting contracts could be Kafala, Rahan, Hawala, Wadi'a, Wakala, Ju'ala, and Musaqat. All these various contracts are part of Islamic finance, which must be based on mutual consent when we are dealing with it. Next. So in conclusion for this part of the principle is that the principle of mutual consent focuses on the underlying Sharia principle in Islamic finance. Some modes of financing in Islamic finance may be originally allowed. Yes, of course, because al-aslu fil ashya al-iba'a, al-hil. But when they are tainted with modern innovation, the question of Sharia compliance is invoked. What I mean by that is that, yes, something may be originally allowed, permissible, halal, but the way we do it sometimes, or some of the shuruts of its compliance are not fulfilled, then the question of whether it is Sharia compliance will be invoked, will be raised. In that is some of the contracts we do today. Yes, of course, to do what they call bear bithaman al-ajil is allowed, Sharia. But when it is arranged like tawarruk, organized tawarruk, where a company will set two different layers in the same company, where you will go to one office of the company, it will sell you a commodity for $1,000. That's $1,000. And you will go to, he will give you a paper receipt that he has sold it to you. Then the same company in another office will buy it for $800, less than the original price you bought it from them. And it will give you cash, $800. You owe the company $1,000 because the first leg of the contract was based on deferred payments. So you pay it next year or next week or next month, $1,000 to that company for buying that asset. But the same company bought it from another office, less than the actual amount of money you bought it. Then the question of whether it is halal or not will be raised. And that is what they call arranged tawarruk, which is questionable from Sharia point of view. But some scholars will say, well, the two contracts are not the same. Someone sold it in one office with the deferred payment, 1,000. Another office bought it 800 with cash. So what's the problem? But from a Qasid Sharia point of view, as we advance, is not allowed. Simply because you are doing what they call trick to circumvent the law. And the spirit of the law is not emanated, is not recognized, is not considered. And that is why Sharia scholar may find other ways for circumvent the non-compliance by other Sharia principles. Yes, sometimes they will invoke what they call al-maslaha. Because of the maslaha, ar-rajha, they will say, well, since there is no any direct text prohibit what we have done, it is by your own interpretation, or you invoke some other spirits, which is not visible to everybody. So we go ahead because of the maslaha for the country, as they do in some Muslim country today, that the Muslim scholar will come together, will reason with the reason why they have to do it, and they will invoke maslaha to justify that kind of sales or financing in the Islamic finance. Next. Having said that, once you know the principle of mutual consent and you are happy to do business, to sell your products or to buy your products, then you have to know about what are the muharramat and makruhat in doing business. Otherwise, you will be doing something wrong, knowingly or unknowingly. And that is why one of the companions says, كان الناس يسألون النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن الخير وأنا أسأله عن الشر مخافة أن أقع فيه. People used to ask the Prophet about, oh, what can I do to make me enter the paradise? They will be asking the Prophet about every good deed to be done so that they can enter paradise. But I will ask the Prophet about the shar, the evil thing that I shouldn't do, makhafatan and aqa'afi, so that I won't involve in it. So that is why the Muslim scholars they invoke a principle, they call it Dari'ul Mafasid Muqaddamun ala Jalbil Manafi'. Dari'ul Mafasid Muqaddamun ala Jalbil Manafi'. to ward off evil is better than to acquire benefits. So when you want to do business, you must know the pros and cons. As you know that this product is halal, you must know what is haram in it. What are the attributes? What are the things, activities you shouldn't do, so that what you are doing will not lead to haram? It's just like someone who is praying. When you want to pray, we know that prayer is wajib. But before you pray, you must know what are the shuruts and what are the asbab and what are the mawani. That is, what are the conditions that will make your prayer acceptable by Allah. Someone want to pray, but he was praying before the time of Zuhr, or is praying without ablution, or he is praying without reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. We say you are praying, but your prayer is not accepted. Similarly, when you are doing transaction, you are involving in a product, selling products in Islamic finance, you must know all the do's and don'ts in it, the pros and cons in it. So this principle, the second principle of prohibitions and avoidances, are divided into three. The first one is prohibited attributes, which the Prophet, the Quran and the Prophet have said something about. What I mean by prohibited attribute is that the way you do it, the attribute of that transaction is riba. So you have to leave it. The avoidance activities that you must avoid, it may lead to haram, though it may still be at the stage of makruhat, that is detestable activities. But once you indulge in it, it could lead to the muharramat, then prohibited substances, something that you cannot go into at all. Ab initio, they are prohibited. There is no any way you can halalize them. There is no any way you can justify dealing with it unless under the pretext of darura. When you invoke the principle of darura, yes, maybe you can be justified for doing it. But ab initio, they are muharramat. So these three elements will be discussed under the principle of prohibitions and avoidances. First, now, next, I will talk about the definition, evidence, types, and give some example, especially on the gharar. Next. Next. Okay. Literally, riba, it means excess, expand, increase, growth, as we all know. But I will not talk much because it's a well-known principle or concept in Islam. Next. Now, we have evidences in the Quran and hadith of the Prophet, but I will mention about the 4 stages of which prohibition of riba go through. The first one is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compare between riba and zakat. And he make a judgment that zakat will be rewarded, will be having growth and blessings, while riba will be cursed. That is in Surah Quran chapter 30, Surah to Rum, I believe, verse 39, where Allah says, وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن رِّبَا لِيَرْبُوَ فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ فَلَا يَرْبُ عِندَ اللَّهِ وَمَا آتَيْتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. So in that particular verse, there is a kind of allusion to the prohibition. But the second stage, attaching the practices of riba to certain people who are Jews, that is their habit, and it consider the practice as injustice. Okay, then the first stage in Surah Ali Imran, verse 130, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibits the practice of charging double and multiple money as riba, where Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la ta'kulu riba adha'afan mudha'afa. So in that particular stage, there is a prohibition of committing riba in terms of multiple charges on commodity. But the last stage, where Allah unequivocally explained about the prohibition of riba, and it is a very lengthy discussion in Surah Al-Baqarah, where Allah starts, الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس ذلك بأنهم قالوا إنما البيع مثل الربا وأحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. From that onset, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained the nature of riba. And from there, the Muslim scholars or the companions knew that this is not allowed, and they refrained from it. Unfortunately, riba in Islam is one of the things that is very dangerous and important. But before the death of the Prophet, some scholars said that it wasn't too clear to the Muslims. And that is why we have some controversy in whether this one is riba or riba. I will remember when Bilal, one of the companions, came to the Prophet with a date, very nice date. And he didn't know that that date that he got from someone is part of riba. What he did was, when the Prophet asked him, he said, I exchanged my bad dates with good dates. And the Prophet told him that, how we ainu riba. Leave it, return it. That is exact riba. So it means some of the companions, even during the time of the Prophet, because the prohibition of riba came at the last time of the Prophet. And that is why Ibn Abbas and host of others, we disagree in some, but when they got evidences from other companions, they will now raise their case and they will drop their view and accept the popular view. Now, let us continue. Next stage, next slide. So there are also a number of narrations from the prophets that used to prohibit riba, when the prophet says that Allah calls the receiver the payer of riba, and so on and so forth. So that means a Muslim should refrain from riba. And we must know all these ayun riba or anwa' riba, all types of riba must be known for any businessman, so that we will comply with what Hudhayfa bin Yaman said, that people used to ask the Prophet about good thing, but I used to ask him about bad thing, so that I will not involve in any bad thing, and to comply with the principle of Dari'ul Mafasid Muqaddamun ala Jalbi Manafi. Because there's no any way we can face the cause of Allah, the la'na of Allah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause the receiver of riba, the payer of riba, the one who record it, and the one who witness it. So no one would like to meet Allah, and Allah will be displeased with him. And that is why the companions and the successors after them, the tabi'in and tabi'in, whenever they want to engage in any business, they will seek and employ the scholars of knowledge to explain to them. Even sometimes they travel with the scholars so that they don't do any wrong business. And that is why in any Islamic financial institution today, there must be a committee called Sharia Advisory Committee. And they must be knowledgeable, not those who are in the conventional bank before. No, those who read Sharia from the beginning to the end, those who can infer, those who can use their intellectual ability to comprehend all the aspects of Sharia, be it the legal one or the spiritual one. So this is important in Islamic finance because the issue of prohibitions and avoidance is very important. We must know it, not just to know what it is halal, but also to know what is haram so that we will not involve in it and our action will not be spoiled or null and void in the day of resurrection. Let us continue. Continue. Let us continue. I don't want to reiterate that. Now, prohibition of riba, we have interpretation of wa halallahu al-bay'a wa harrama riba. So we have trade and we have usury, which is riba. And the criteria for each one is that fair exchange of good or value, fair distribution of risk and return. It is in the trade. So any transaction that doesn't have exchange of good or value is not trade. Or where there is no any fear of distribution of risk and return. You just want to sit down and you want to get money. You put money in the bank, 1 million, and you just want to get your return, dividend. You don't want to know whether they lose or they gain. You just want to have a fixed profit on it. Then that will lead into what they call riba. So it is because riba criteria is that it is oppressive, unfair distribution of risk and return, unjustified enrichment at expense of others. So you just want to have profits, but you don't care about the loss of others, which Islam is completely prohibits. Now, next. Okay. No, before then, sorry. The one before that. Now, so when we are talking about the sunnah of the prophets on the prohibition of riba, the prophet mentioned about, he gave us some elements or some products in which riba can occur. And he mentioned about adhab bil-dhab, wal-fiddat bil-fiddah, wal-sha'ir bil-sha'ir. All these types of commodities, when you exchange one with other, the same thing, then that could be riba. And that is why the prophet rejected the exchange of tamar, bad tamar with good tamar, did by Bilal during his time. So when we want to exchange currency, the currency must be, the rule is his same denomination. If it is dollar with dollar, then it must be at par and spot. That is $100 with $100, $1,000 with $1,000, and it must be on spot. Give me 1,000, I will give you 1,000. If it is the same denomination, okay? Whether it is coins or it is paper, there is no any difference between, because the same thing I will use coins with, I will use paper with. But if it is different denomination, let's say $1 with £1, then it may not be the same. I may exchange $1 for 1.5 pounds, or 1 Kuwaiti dinar with 5 Malaysia ringgit, because they are not the same in denomination, in the domain. But it must be on spot. It must be at the same time. But some scholars said that today, when we are doing digital, difference may be 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on where you are. because when I'm in Malaysia, I may be in the afternoon doing a transaction with someone in Kuwait, which may have 5 hours difference. So that is allowed, and that is tolerable from Sharia point of view, according to Muslim scholars. But if it is a stable food, like the one we are eating, the sha'ir and so on and so forth, same type, sha'ir with sha'ir are par and spots. Okay, but if they are different as well, like sha'ir with tamur, it must be on spots. Okay, it must be on spot, but they can be different. 1 kilo of tamur, I will change it with 10 kilo of sha'ir. So this is what? This is allowed from Sharia point of view. Next. 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 Okay, so I made just a summary of what I've just said from the hadith of the Prophet. When we have the slide, we can digest and see how it goes. Now, next. Next. So in contemporary finance, riba can occur in all interest-based lending activities. All conventional bonds could be a type of riba. Fixed return on deposits in conventional is riba. If it is done in Sharia also or Islamic bank, it is also riba. So to be Sharia compliant, all contracts in Islamic finance cannot be involved in any of usual activities mentioned above. So today, what we make sure that you look into is that what kind of currency I'm dealing with, what kind of commodity I'm dealing with. If the currency is the same, you must make sure that you exchange it as we've mentioned. Yes, mutual consent can be there, but you cannot say, well, I agree to exchange $1,000 with $1,500 because this is coins and this is paper. No. Even if the mutual consent is there, it is not accepted. It is not what? Accepted, because it is part of the muharramat shari'an, what Allah has prohibited, and we must refrain from that. Now, let us continue. Riba in modern financial transaction. I've mentioned about riba duyun in loans and certain controversial contract like bay'ul-ina. I think we have to deal with this topic in a separate section, and I believe some of my colleagues have done that before, but we can reiterate, because فَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We need to remind ourselves every time of what we should do and what we shouldn't do, because we are insan, we easily forget something, and we have to remind ourselves. So riba al-bayur mainly in sarf, exchange, but riba duyun is in loan. That's the difference between the two. So we can have riba in duyun. When we exchange money, we give someone money, we do the transaction with money. So it will be duyun. So if I give you 1,000 today and you are paying back tomorrow, and there's any extra on it, then that is riba. But if it is in bayur, when we are exchanging currency, then riba can occur. And the principle, as I mentioned, is if it is the same denomination, you have to make sure that the same amount and on spots are considered. But if they are different, then only on spot is the requirement. There is one trick hadith which has become principle, is the one I mentioned here. كل قرض جر نفعا فهو الربا. كل قرض جر نفعا فهو الربا. Any loan that attracts benefits to the lender, it is usury, it is riba. Now, this principle is used and it is reported by hadith of the Prophet, which has so many interpretation. But what he's trying to say, they say it is da'if, but the manner is what? Is sahih, is healthy, in the sense that when I lend you money, I lend you £1,000 to be repaid back next year. But I take your car during that time, I use it without giving you any money in lieu of using your car. Or all the time I come to your house for dinner, free of charge. That action from me could lead to a benefit, because the one you lend money may not like to say no to you. So once you lend someone money or any property, don't take advantage of it. That's what the hadith is trying to say. Or you don't agree that where I will give you £1,000, but I will be using your house till you pay back without giving me any rent. That is not allowed, because the amount of rental fee could be deducted from the money I lend. So if it is deducted, I may not even have any recourse to get money from him back, because I've used his house equivalent to the money I lent him. And that's why the Prophet said, Kullu qardin jarra naf'an, in Sahih al-Hadith, Kullu qardin jarra naf'an fahuwa riba. However, the Muslim scholar said that, yes, it is allowed if it is not part of the agreement. If I want to return back the loan, if I put extra money on top of it without asking me, it is not bad. It is not bad. Because the Prophet said that the best among you is the one who returned the loan back with the best. So if you do more than what it did for you, it is acceptable from Allah's point of view. Okay, but it shouldn't be part of the condition of the lending of the money or the property or anything that you exchange between you and your fellow Muslims. Now, next. The second one is the activities, and it is about gharar. Gharar means that uncertainty in doing things. Next. Uncertainty, risk, hazard in doing business, or the sales of probable item whose existence or characteristics are not certain due to the risky nature, which makes the trade similar to gambling. So it's very close to gambling. I want to summarize it because it is lengthy, and because of the time factor, I may not be able to explain it extensively, unless if the moderator, Dr. Muhyiddin, permits me to go beyond 1 hour. Dr. Muhyiddin?
Yeah, Prof, you can continue.
How many minutes remaining? How many minutes?
Time is 1 hour and a half, so no problem. We may not take some questions, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
yes. This is about gharar, and it is one of the 3 aspects of the muharramat wa manhiyat. However, gharar may not get to the muharramat, but it's makruhat to some extent, since there are tolerable and intolerable, not tolerable gharar, as I will explain later. Now, continue. So in gharar, we have in the Quran, Surah An-Nisa, that we've recited before, La taku amwalakum bainakum bil batil. So we have interpretative thing in it. So for instance, if we are doing a business which is unjust, so it is batil. And that batil means that all illegal and defective elements in contract, including gharar and uncertainty. But there are some trade by mutual consent, which the offer and acceptance indicating consent, but it eliminates all the mistakes and fraud in it. So when you are doing business and there are something that are not clear in it, though there is a mutual consent, but there are some elements that is not well explained. Like you have a defect in your commodity, and that defect is not known to the second partner, the party who want to buy the commodity. It is only known to you, and you sold it. There's a gharar. For instance, we have a liquid of, let's say, milk or tuna in a container, and you said it is 2 kilo or 1 kilo, but you know for sure that the commodity inside is not up to 1 kilo. It is half a kilo, but you make the thing very heavy to the extent that when they put it on the way, they will think that it is the commodity inside, the product inside is weight. It's not. So that is part of gharar. And there are some classical gharar that we will mention in due course. Let us continue. The next one. Next. So the prohibition of gharar is mentioned in the Sunnah of the Prophet, where the Sunnah used the word gharar and its derivative much more extensively than in the Quran. So we have in the Hadith where the Prophet ﷺ prohibited any says that it is not certain, it is not known. An example given is prohibition of says of fish in the sea, or bird in the air, or unborn animal, lost item. All these are classical examples of Be'u al-Gharar. So when you are selling something that is in the sea, we do not know the size. We do not know whether it's female. We do not know the type of the fish you are selling. Or bird in the air, we don't know whether it will come back or it won't come back. Then unborn animal, Be'u al-Haml. You don't know whether it will come out alive or dead. We don't know. So because we do not know the nature of what we want to sell or what we want to buy, then there is an inherent darar in what we are doing. Next. 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 So there are two different types of gharar. The one which is tolerable and the one which is not tolerable. So the tolerable gharar is a trivial one, yasir, gharar yasir, and it occurs in other than exchange contracts such as in gratuitous contracts. Like if I want to give you something as a gift, it is not necessarily that it has to be clear. I can say that I give you my car that has been stolen when you see it. Because there is no any exchange in it, you don't give me something back from it. So for that reason, we do not expect that it must be completely certain. So it also happens to a auxiliary object. That is something that is secondary to something. I sold you a car, okay? And you start the car, it's working perfectly, this and that. But maybe some other defect inside, I may not even know, okay? And you also may not know until when you get back home. So that kind of gharar is accepted. Similarly, when I'm selling milk for you, that milk, I must put the date of expiring. However, it may spoil because of any other contamination. There is a gharar in it. When you open it, something may affect it. and that is part of the gharar, which are tolerable. The one that you do not have any control on, the seller doesn't have control on, is al-gharar al-yasir. Now, continue. The avoidance of transaction involving gharar al-yasir, maisir, sorry. Maisir is also part of the gharar that Islam prohibits in the Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah and 90. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited something like gambling because it has elements of al-gharar, because we are not very sure of what we are buying or what will come to us at the end of what we are doing. So you don't do any kind of gambling because it is part of gharar that it is not accepted. Now, let us continue. Main reason for the prohibition of gharar, the main reason for the prohibition of gharar is the existence of vagueness in rights and liability that can be exploited to deceive people into thinking that they are getting a better deal, which is in reality not the case. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Islamic finance, they don't want exploitation. So because of that vagueness in it, Islam prohibits or nullify any activities that involve any kind of gharar. Now, next. Next. So here I try to make a gharar in terms of and as essence of the contract involved. Then gharar in the object of the contract include, I mentioned it here, two sales in one, bay'an fi bay' wahid, there is gharar, because sometimes you may not know what will be the consequence of the second one. Down payments, Muslim scholar included down payments as part of uncertainty, because I may not sure whether I'm coming back to buy or not. The people want touching and toast sales is not also accepted. Suspended one, ma'allaq sale, future sales, all these are in terms of that of the contract, that is the essence of the contract. But in terms of the object of the contract, ignorance about the genes, if you are not very sure of the type of the contract you are doing, ignorance about the spaces and the noun, soft attributes, all these parts are the objective of the contract. So if I'm doing the contract with a bank and you don't tell me the kind of contract I'm having, I think in the bank today, some of them, they don't explain to the customer what type of contract between the depositor and the bank and what type of return they are going to have. Is it mudaraba? Is it murabaha? Is it wadia? Is it this and that? Is it gratuitous contracts where we are just giving you money from our profits, but the one you deposited is like a loan to the bank? We don't explain. So there could be a kind of gharar in it that could render the activities null and void. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Next. Prohibition because of jahala. I don't want to mention about this, it could be treated, but jahala also is part of the avoidance, that is makruhat in any financing. So we must make sure that we refrain from anything that we are not very sure there is jahal about the commodity. That is, we do not have full information about what we are doing. So for that reason, Islam detests something like that, and they want Muslims to involve in any transaction that we are not sure of its nature or the consequence of that contract, except the one that has been permitted by Sharia, like as istisna. When we do istisna, We don't know at the end the nature of the building, but up initio, we've explained that this building is 3-bedroom flat. It has this corner, the square meter is this and that, and this and that. So we've already explained about the basic of the house. However, you may finish it, but I do not like it. When we are doing istisna, I may not like it. Or in the salam, I may not even like it. Or muzara and so on and so forth. So those are the tolerable one in the gharar, which jahala can be part of it. Now let us continue. Let us continue. I don't want to explain much about this jahala. I do comparison between gharar and jahala, which is very important that you should know. A type of gharar, its concept is narrower than gharar. That is, jahala is part of al-gharar, but gharar is more than that. Encompasses jahala. Its concept is more general and wider than the concept of jahala. Usually, jahala relates to quantitative and qualitative uncertainty. That is the quantity and the quality. It could be jahala. While typically gharar, it is associated with the existence or non-existence of the objects, whether the object is exist or not exist. So these are the some of the differences between gharar and jahala, which we need to know, but sometimes they interwoven, and both of them are something we should avoid when we are doing business in Islamic finance. Next. Some modern element of gharar I mentioned here. Let us take example of a new vehicle. You can go to the next one. Yes, please. Or, okay. New vehicle. Gharar may also exist in a sale of new vehicle when the time of delivery is not certain, which may result in several postponements of the delivery, or when changes are made to the color scheme and so on and so forth. Yes, as I'm taking car from America to Kuwait or to GCC, there could be some kind of delay. I may promise that I will give you, I will deliver the commodity at a particular time, but something can come unexpected. Like during the COVID, nobody knows that COVID is coming and there will be lockdown. Anyone who is shipping something to sell in his country or to deliver in his country from America or other country, we have delay. Not even delay of 2 days or 3 days. It could be 1 year after they open the port. So this kind of gharar can occur. Even during that time, the color of the car might have been changed. You know, there could be some kind of changes in the color because of the time is spent in the container, or rust, or any type of things, defect that can occur to the car. So this kind of gharar can be avoided, or sometimes we may not be able to be avoided. It depends on the nature. So the legal experts, when you go for litigation, they will be able to explain whether you can have your refund or no refund. But to me, the seller will take the responsibility because it is part of laws and the profits that we should anticipate in any business that we are doing. Now, let us continue. Let's continue. The last one is very short. Is anything related to prohibition of the substance, like pork. We cannot do financing on pork. Now, it is part of the commodity. No. Pornography, no. Tobacco, alcohol, weapon, and other substance which are harmful to human beings. So these items will be part of the substance which are prohibited ab initio. And there is no any negotiation in Islam. There is no any way you can halalize pork. Whether you change it, you modify it, you turn it, you refine it to become oil, you sell it as oil, it is originally, by its substance, is haram. Pornography, yeah, no, I'm taking it for pleasure. No, there is no any darura, there is no any darura in it. No any darura can lead to use some of these prohibited substance in Islam, and is something which is part of the principle of al-muharramat wal-makruhat. Some may be contended, like tobacco, it could be contended. Weapon also can be part of the contended item, but it could be under the makruhat if it is not al-muharramat. Now, next. Yeah, let us continue. I've explained some of them. I want to go to the conclusion. This is the end of the second principle, which is the prohibition and avoidance. So in any Islamic finance, we must know the principle of muharramat wal makruhat. And what is muharram originally and what is makruh originally. And how can you avoid both of them in the business? And ignorance of doing it may not be excusable from Sharia point of view, but sometimes it may be accepted if you have any genuine reason to do it, under the pretext of what they call ad-darura tubih al-mahdhurat. Wallahu ta'ala alam. The last one will be, yes, continue. The last principle is maqasid sharia. Is another entire topic that we need to discuss in depth, and I believe it has been dealt with in Arabic. I've seen some of the slides in the previous Arabic section in Nadi al-Iqtisad al-Islami. I'm not very sure whether we've discussed about maqasid sharia in English, but let me quickly explain what we mean in the next 5 minutes before 1.5 hours. Maqasid sharia is there to consider whether the contracts we are doing is in line with the spirit of Islamic law. You know, sometimes you do something, you fulfill the legal aspect of it, but the spirit of Islam in it is not fulfilled. And let me give you one example, which I've said before, is about the tawarruq. Tawarruq, be it organized one or non-organized one. Yes, you may fulfill all the legal requirements. All the legal requirements can be fulfilled. And from that, we can say, oh, it is allowed. Sharia compliance. But when you look at it from the spirit of Islam point of view, you see that the reason why riba is prohibited is still reside in that tawarruq. It's like you just symbolize a commodity, you sell it virtually or not virtually, and the aim behind it is to lend someone money and get extra from it, which is riba. And the problem of engaging in riba will also emanate from this tawarruq, whether inflation or putting people in problem, causing more harm to humanities, and so on and so forth. So that is why the issue of maqasid sharia in Islamic finance is a big principle that all Muslims who are experts or stakeholders in Islamic finance must know very well, that not necessarily you fulfill the legal aspect, but the spirit aspect of it is also fulfilled, and that is where the maqasid sharia comes in. So in this, I talk about the vertical dimension and horizontal dimension of doing business. Because when we are doing business, we must have what they call the faith in Allah. So whatever you are doing, you must bear in mind that you are going to meet Lord, your God. Whether you are doing trick, tahayyul Allah, or you are very honest with what you are doing, then Allah will judge you in the day of resurrection. And that is why Imam Shafi'i, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his when he was asking about someone who engaged in such tawarruq, it's like he comes to you, he wants money, but you said you cannot lend him money with extra charge, but you can sell something to him with higher price and defer payments, then you buy it back from him with lower price and pay upfront. He said, if it is different business or contracts, and I don't know his intention, it doesn't tell me his intention, that this is the reason why we are doing it, I will not judge him about something I don't know. I won't judge him. I will leave him for Allah. But if he has told me that, oh, because we don't want to engage in direct riba, that's why we are doing it, I will say it is not allowed. So this has to do with your faith with Allah. And that is what I call vertical dimension. The horizontal dimension, it has to do with honesty, transparency, trust, and lenience. So I will summarize this because of time. Honesty, you have to be honest when you are doing business. Honest to yourself, to your customers, and to the ummah. Honest means that whatever you are doing, you do it with sincerity, with all passion or sense of belonging. You know that you are dealing with human beings. You say the truth. You don't call halal compliance and you say alcohol. I make a joke of someone who is selling hot dog. Hot dog, but it is not dog. It is animal. It is halal animal. Why should you call it hot dog? Is it because non-Muslim will not buy it if I don't call it with that brand of name? So, but Allah says, "La taqulu ra'ina wa qulu unzurna." Don't say ra'ina if that ra'ina has some polluted meaning. Wa qulu unzurna, say the one that is well known to everybody. So call it a plain name that is allowed, that is acceptable to all Muslims and others. Don't trick other people in your business. Transparency also needs to be there. You must be transparent. Whatever you are doing, explain it in a correct way. Like in the banks today, when you are saying, come and buy these products, but the condition you will put down, you put them in a very tiny fonts to the extent that the customer will not be able to read it for the whole day. And you know that they cannot read it. And you want them to sign the contract today. Otherwise, they won't get that contract anymore. That is deception. And the Prophet says, Man ghashana falaysa minna. Man ghashana falaysa minna. So you can't deceive someone. And some of the clauses you put in this condition, you know he can't get out of the problem when he bought the commodity. It is not accepted. So transparency is very important. I remember one of the story of Ibn Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu saying that he wanted to buy a commodity and he inspected it and he saw that the price of it is more than what the owner wants to sell it to him. He has to increase the price, and that is trust, honest. Okay? Leniency is also part of it. Leniency means that when someone defaults, you need to do the study of why he defaults, so you don't compound on his problem. So that is what I mean by leniency in doing business. So give them time to pay back or try to find an amicable way of resolving his problem don't compound upon the problem of Muslims. So that will make your product in Islamic finance holistic, Islamic, taking care of the legal and the spirit of the law. This is what I can deliver today. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us as an act of ibadah, to make the listener and the deliver, the presenter benefit from the talk, and to make us see the haqqan and help us to comply with the haqq, and let us see the batilan and help us to refrain from that battle. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولجميع المسلمين إنه هو الغفور الرحيم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Luqman, for this wonderful session, presentation, and explanation of the principles and pretext of the modern and popular Islamic finance and products. So I think, Alhamdulillah, today's session went very well and excellently. And this lecture is also recorded in the YouTube channel of Nadal Iqtisad Islami. Inshallah, we believe that maybe next month we are going to discuss with Professor Luqman to have another session with the remaining important
I will be obliged to
principles and also pretext to be. This so much, Prof, for your time, for your effort, providing us with your philosophies, understandings, and also explanations. May Allah bless you. Barakallahu fiqh, jazakumullah khairan. And we thank all the participants, guests from all over the world for joining us, and hope to see you again in upcoming sessions, inshallah. And our thanks to our administration, board members of Nadal Iqtisad Islami, especially Dr. Alal Ubaid, with the Director General of the association. With that, inshallah, we will see you again very soon. And we are concluding today here. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.